Hey everybody, we just did a great show with Jeanette Marais and Laura Gronwald from Ben's Bells. And we talked about kind campuses, kind colleagues, and how to incorporate that into work. And it's a very different concept about kindness, a much deeper one. So my question for you is, we believe at Mrs. Green's World that most people want to do the right thing. They want to do the good thing. They want to be part of our Disruptors for Good movement. Mm-hmm. Given what you do, your scope of work, what message do you have for the Disruptors for Good?
I think the thing that has been most helpful for me personally, and then what I've observed through the work that we do, is that it's really helpful to understand why we struggle, right? Why we struggle with kindness, why we struggle with change, why we struggle to do the things in the world that we know need to be done. And for us at Ben's Bells, understanding the nature of our brain and how our brains have evolved to be really adept at noticing threat is a great place to start, so that we understand our own behaviors, our own reactions, our own triggers, and then from that awareness, learn a skill set around calming ourselves so that we can respond in a way that is more productive and hopefully more kind. From that self-awareness, we're much more likely to be able to understand other people better as well, to understand that they also have what some scientists call that same tricky brain, that same threat detector brain, and that if we are skilled in communicating with each other, in dealing with each other, we can be able to craft messages and work that actually can be heard, and through that work, hopefully, we make these changes we want to make. But otherwise, we keep coming up against this brain of ours that causes us to just react in ways that sort of block progress.
And it is retraining your brain.
Absolutely. It's really being able to, we talked on the pod about the metacognition, right? Thinking about your own thinking. This is fascinating, right? I always picture a little tiny version of myself looking in my brain and saying, hey, Jeanette, you're feeling kind of defensive right now.
Jeanette, you're not thinking.
Exactly. And just that noticing, right, is a huge step toward kindness, toward progress. Because if I can say, I'm feeling defensive right now, that allows me then to take the next step.
Versus it's the flight or fight. It's like get the claws out.
Threat brain that where we just react,
Right.
And so, and then understanding that hurt people, for whatever reason they've been hurt, have a brain that's been triggered and threatened, and so is more sort of on alert for that sort of thing as well. It helps us have compassion for each other, and for ourselves. We sometimes use the line, hurt people hurt people. When I hurt somebody, it's because I am myself struggling, right? So this sort of awareness, I think, is the very first step. And all the good work we do, if we don't have awareness around it, is not going to be as effective.
So, Laura, as the Director of Education, you're responsible for a lot of applied research. You have the research, you have the science behind all of this. Do you believe that with enough practice, we retrain our brains so that it becomes the way we show up? It's not something we have to think about. It's not metacognition. It becomes the way that we present. We've rewired enough.
I think we do rewire enough that sometimes that's what's happening. But I think there's always going to be moments when we have to be thinking about our thinking. And it starts there. And so at first it might even feel like a bit of an effort because, am I going to have to be thinking about my thinking in this meeting again? I get kind of tired of doing that.
Right. And maybe the voices take over.
A little bit, exactly. But I think what happens is that it becomes a habit, and a healthier habit. But it's always a practice. So if we think we arrive at a certain point and then we've just got it, that's not going to work. It's always going to be a practice, because there's always going to be moments that, for whatever reason, that defensiveness gets triggered, and we need to get back into that practice actively and connect with other people to help us do it too.
And I know I'm tying a lot of what happened, the shooting in Florida, into a lot of conversations. I think we all should be. And I said to you in the studio that if that campus had had a kind campus, it might not have happened. I believe that. I believe it would not have happened. But do you think that now, it seems to me that now, today, in my world, after being on this planet for as long as I have, what you're doing there's a heightened need. It seems like things are really heating up. When you have 18 school shootings in 2 months, something's really broken. So are you feeling that incredible need to intensify and get out there? I'm sure it's ever present with you and your team, but does it feel a bit heightened these days?
Well, certainly, and you know, we feel like a really, really important part of the work we do and the messaging that we do is that we're not talking about being nice. We're not talking
Right.
about
Oh.
superficial, just trying to please people, just agreeing. That is not what we're talking about. Kindness is really willing to be uncomfortable, right? We need to have these hard conversations, right? If we see a problem and we just don't want to ruffle feathers, that's sort of being nice, but it's not kind. We need to be able to step up for each other. And so oftentimes we talk about kindness is the do. Kindness is the do. So we can have all of this incredible empathy, which is also a skill, right? And compassion and really wanting to help. And we can keep it in our head. We need more
Kindness
people
is the do.
to
Kindness is the
engage,
do.
right? So we need people to engage. We need people to stick their neck out. We need people to be vulnerable, and that takes a skill set. So our goal with the work we do is to help people understand that it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to know that you need to learn something new, right? We're not expected to know everything. We can learn something new so that we know how to engage. Right? Where there's a lot of us just trying to engage and not learning what we need to learn, and then we engage badly. So we need to learn so that we can then use our voices in a way that is
Right.
actually helpful.
Right.
So not just be kind willy-nilly, it's understand what kindness actually looks like and what is actually kind in this situation, right? It might not be what your first instinct was, right? Because we have to think about what's kind for this group of people or this person might be a little bit different than what would be kind for me. So there's a lot of learning that has to happen. And so we're trying to create a culture and support for that culture of people being able to learn about what kindness means, what the practice of kindness means, and what it means to be intentionally kind.
And my hope, of course, is always that the demand for your work and the funding for it will just continue to expand, because our world is already a better place for what you do,
Aw, thank
and
you
it will
for that.
keep getting better. And thank you for coming and for the words you shared. This is one of those videos that I hope would go viral, especially since it's needed more than ever. It's really, really important that people, think about their thinking, and then translate that to action, as you said. Thanks, you guys. You're awesome.
Thanks for having us.